Guess what? I've been operating my own web application for a couple of years now. I'm not going to go into the intricacies of how I built it, but it's up and running. It works. And most importantly, people are signing up to it because it's conversion focused. And, not to brag, but I think it looks kind of really sexy. In this video, I'm going to build the sales page for it using Thrive Architect on WordPress. There are a few different reasons why you may want to consider building your marketing pages on WordPress for your own SaaS solution. I can think of speed, SEO, GEO, UX, UI. The truth is, at the end of the day, you want your sales pages to rank high up on search engines. You want them to be found. You want them to be fast. And, of course, you also want users to be able to enjoy a seamless experience and a seamless checkout experience. Thrive Suite and WordPress offer all of these. So yeah, let's just, roll up our sleeves and get to work. All right, folks. So before we get started, let me just show you the Figma file of what we're going to be replicating using Thrive Architect. This is the homepage of Option Track. We're going to treat this more of like a sales page and not so much as a homepage. So we're going to skip the header and we're probably just going to put the logo at the very top and treat this as if it were an actual landing page. So yeah, I think this is more or less sort of really doable with Thrive Architect. This section over here might be a little tricky, and perhaps this image in the hero might be a little tricky, but we'll figure it out. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So backend of WordPress is open. We're going to create a new page. And we shall call this page, let's just call it Option Track. All right, let's save this as a draft, and we're going to fire it up with Thrive Architect. We're going to go ahead and create a completely blank page. And we can now roll up our sleeves and start building. All right, so first things first, we're going to create a new background section for what's going to serve as our header. Again, we're not going to replicate this. We're just going to put in the logo. And I think that the first thing that we need to figure out is the background color for this section, which I think is going to be 32, 32, 34. All right, let's give that a shot. So we're going to create this background section with a 32, 32, 32. I don't know that that's actually the color that I'm looking for. Might be this one. 1C, 1C, 1E. Let's try that one. Yeah, that's much better. Perfect. And for this particular header, you see how there's a little subtle border underneath it? We're going to try and replicate that as well. That way there's a little bit of a distinction in between, or, a little bit of a separation between the header and the actual hero section. I'm going to drop in the logo. I think it's this one. And we can get rid of the caption text, make this way smaller, create a little bit of, actually, let's bring down the minimum height of this section and center things vertically speaking. And we can just center the logo to the center. Perfect. And I'm pretty positive that we can just probably duplicate this background section, make it a little taller while we're working on it. And let's just go ahead and get rid of this logo. All right, so we're now looking at a background section that has, well, it shares the same background color as the header. But look at that. We're off to a great start, right? We already have our header. Oh, I forgot to do the border. Let's do perhaps... let's do white, but with an opacity of maybe like 30%. Let's see what that does. And I can't really see it right now, but we'll be able to see it once we preview the page. All right. And now we need a couple of different things. We need a left-hand column. Let me close all these windows. A left-hand column here for the hero section with some text, and then an image on the right. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and respect the hierarchy of development with Thrive Architect. Background section, we're then going to insert a content box, and we're then going to insert a couple of columns. Actually, you know what? I'm thinking, see, now this is why this section right here is a little tricky, guys, because check this out. We have an image that actually needs to touch the edge of the screen, right? This image needs to be touching the edge of the screen, but this other column doesn't. We want some separation in between, some margin in between the text in the hero and the actual edge of the screen. But then the content in the right-hand column needs to be touching the edge of the screen. So how do we do this? This is actually kind of an interesting scenario. So I can think of a couple of different ways in which we may want to tackle this. I was going to put things into a 2-column layout, but that's not going to work, right? Because if I stick things into a 2-column layout, I'm not going to be able to... I could maybe background section, we could tell this background section to not inherit the width from our landing page, which is 1200, and have it cover the entire screen width. Get rid of these. Maybe we could get rid of the right hand padding. But this is, I'm actually not sure if this is going to work. Let's give this a shot and we're going to learn and discover some new things together. So let's get rid of the caption text. Okay, so this gets me a little closer to where I want to be because I could potentially speaking get rid of all of these margins, and I want to do the same thing for these columns. Okay, and I think I still have some bottom padding. And for some reason I still, because we do have a minimum height here for this background section. Let's get rid of that. Let's make this 150. Okay, so let's hit save really quick before we continue working. So now we should probably preview the page and we should get a crystal clear understanding of what is actually happening. So the image is touching the edge of the screen, which is great. This is precisely what we're going after. But we are going to bump into a problem because there isn't enough separation in between the text, right? If we actually insert a content box in the left-hand column and we drop in some text, let's make this an H1. And let's just make it white for now for the sake of testing. You can kind of see how the text should be more or less aligned over here, right? It shouldn't go beyond that portion of the screen. So how do we do this? I am thinking that perhaps, maybe, could we potentially speaking just simply add a little bit of left padding, like 300 pixels, but that is going to squeeze everything down, right? Not ideal. What if we give this left-hand column some padding? We're probably going to bump into a similar problem. Maybe instead of using pixels, we want to use percentage and we do 20%. Okay, that gets us somewhere. Maybe it has to be higher. Maybe we do 40%. Okay, that gets us somewhere. But we're going to have to make sure that we adjust those fields for mobile devices as well. So maybe on tablet, we don't actually need a left padding, and on mobile, the same thing applies. Okay, I think I'm actually not unhappy with that. Image should work fine. All right. I think we can continue to work on this. Now, let's take a look at our design because this is special, right? We've got some text and the main H1 heading has to have a gradient that goes from yellowish to orangish, and options tracking should be going from white to gray. How do we do that? I think we're going to have to treat these text elements separately. So we're going to bold this, and then we're going to turn this into a gradient. Gradient should go from left to right. And I think I'm just going to play it by eye. Let's just do this. Start using this color. By the way, everyone, on every single one of my videos that I do on, I use a color picker. People always ask me, hey, what color picker are you using? It's called SIP. I think it's only available for Mac, but don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure. And we're going to add one extra point in the middle for yellow. Perfect. All right. That gets us our first text element. And we probably want to have that be a little bigger, don't we? Let's make this 52. And we're going to do cache-based. Should actually be cache-based. And we can always mess around with our points if we wanted to. All right, let's duplicate that. Let's actually get rid of the line spacing. And now we're going to do options tracking. Options tracking, and I think we may have to bring this down a little more. Cache-based options tracking. Going to make this gray. So we're going from white to a very dark tone of gray. First point is going to be white. And this is going to be gray. And I actually don't think we need. Oops. Perhaps we make it gray as well, but we bring down the opacity. Not loving it. Maybe we gotta make it even more transparent. Let's bring it down even more. All right, I'm more or less happy with that. Could spend a little bit more time, I think. All right, now we need a subheading. Let's drop in a text element. And we probably want to make this 22. Let's bold it. And the color is going to be gray. Let's just go ahead and pick out a light tone of gray. It's not bad. And now we need a button. And we're going to do sign up now. No letter spacing, or actually sign up now might be, maybe we do start tracking today. That's better. A little bit more action driven. Want to grab this orangish color and modify the background color here. All right. And let's center this, align that to the left. And I think I'm kind of happy with the way this looks. This isn't entirely bad, is it? More or less what we're going after. I think maybe a little more rounded borders, and the orange should be a little brighter, shouldn't it? Let's actually find the hex code for this. SIP sometimes gets things a little wrong. Yeah, that's much better. Much brighter. Great. All right. I think I'm liking that. Let's move on to section number 2. Now, for this section, the second section, you gotta be able to tell how there's, we're creating contrast in between sections by subtly changing the background color. So for this section, I think we're gonna be, we can probably let's actually create a new background section. And let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not 6 pairs of, not 6 pairs, but 6 digits of number 2. I think that should actually work pretty well. All right, and we're going to do a content box again. Remember, hierarchy of design. And we're going to do a pair of columns. This time, we're not going to need to mess with paddings or anything like that, which is good. And in our left-hand column, we're going to have an image. It's going to be this iPad image. No caption needed. And now we need to figure out, there's a little bit of gutter width here. So let's actually increase the gutter width in between columns. Gutter width again, Remember, it is the spacing in between columns. Okay, so I don't think we need 100 pixels, but maybe 64 pixels. And in here, we're going to have maybe, I'm inclined to use an H2 tag, but there aren't that relevant keywords in here. So I think I'm just going to continue to use a regular paragraph text, but we're going to format it as an H2. So we're going to make it bold. We're going to make this 32. And this is going to be white, with the exception of the word spreadsheet, which is going to be orange. Let's use this bright orange. And now we can just copy and paste this text over here. Actually, let's just go. Yeah, let's go ahead and drop a new text element. Let's make it a little brighter. That's not bad. And we can probably duplicate that. Grab this text, paste it in there, and we can do white. Let's bold this. Oh, didn't want to bold everything. Let's do this. That's perfect. I think option track should be white. There you go. Much better distinction. Okay, and we can probably just center things, vertically speaking. In the design, out to dry collapses into the following line. It breaks into the following row. So let's go ahead and give this text element a maximum width so that out to dry breaks into the following row. So just go ahead and check how this is looking like on tablet. I don't love how this looks like on tablet. I've got to tell you, I think I'd rather just wrap the columns on tablet as well so that the image actually touches the edge of the screen. And let's make this shorter. There you go. It's probably good enough. Great. We don't need to wrap these. These actually look fine on tablet. And here, here we do probably want the height to be 100%. That's fine. Doesn't look bad. This is probably way too big for mobile devices. Let's do 42. And let's do 42. There's probably room to make this and tweak this on mobile, but you get the gist of how I'm optimizing things on the go. It doesn't take long at all with Thrive. I'm going to hit save. And pretty sure we can move on to the next section. I didn't include this in Figma, but I'm inclined to drop in another call to action in there. Anyways, let's just continue to design what we've got going on in Figma. And then if we want to add some more call to actions, we can always do that. All right. We're going to get the background color from this background section again. Background style, 1C, 1C, 1E. We're going to use it here as well. And you can kind of see how there's a little bit of contrast being created in between sections just by subtly changing the background color of the sections themselves. All right. Let's talk about this section. Here we're going to duplicate this and forgot to drop any content box, sorry. So first, hierarchy of design, content box in between, inside background section. We're going to get this text element and center it. We shall center this text element as well. And we're going to set the max width back to auto. And here we've got value, not there, sorry. Here we want to do value proposition. I think we do want a little bit, 100 pixels. I'm not going to do 100. Actually, we could do 100. Let's just go ahead and do 100 pixels of top and bottom padding. And underneath this text element, we're going to use a 3-column layout. I was thinking very closely about how to replicate and stick in these vectors, but it is going to be a little bit of a pain to replicate the same exact vectors using, just using Thrive, because we would have to allocate a column Do you guys want to try it? Let's just go ahead and try it, actually. Let's see if we can do it. I'm going to export this as an SVG file, and we're going to do vector. You're going to see me try this on the fly. So let's get rid of these 3 column layouts. Let's drop in. We're going to need a total of 5 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So we're going to do 4 columns, and let's do a content box inside the left-hand column. Let's actually recreate this first column. Let's do an image inside this content box. We're going to use the lighting bolt, and no caption needed. Let's make this 32. 32 is a little too small. Let's do 64 then. Really? Oh, I think I know what's going on. Hold on. All right, I was using the wrong image. Again, let's get rid of the caption text here, and we can probably make this 30. Yeah, let's do 64 then. Let's do 64 for now. It's probably not going to be, it's 44 to be precise. Okay, 44. Let's do easy to use. Probably duplicate this. Bring it underneath the image. Left align it and do easy to use. And we probably want to bring this down. 22. Make it orange. Perfect. And some text. Let's duplicate this text element. Bring it underneath and paste the text. Okay. Now we're going to start sticking in our vectors. So here we're going to do the image that you've seen me export from Figma, which is going to serve as our divider. Again, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get this to work. This is precisely 300. Oh my God, it's like 1 pixel tall. Let's not use caption texts. And hey, it works. It's going to be a little hard to work with this. Let's center this. And important, this is important. Let's actually duplicate this. Stick it in here. And now we want to make this column maybe be, actually, let's duplicate this, put it here, and let's duplicate this content box and put it towards the right of the image. Oh my God, Thrive, give me a hand here. Right of the image, perfect. So now we have our 5 columns. I think I want to just grab all 5 columns and center things vertically. Okay, this already gets us somewhere, right? This is already starting to look a lot like this, but we're not quite there yet. So what are we going to do? I think I want to have this be actually a little wider. What if we do 100%? No, 100% is not going to work because it's doing 100% of its own size. Not great. Even 2 pixels is starting to get a little big. All right, let's do 2 pixels wide. Yeah, when you work with vectors, things get a little tricky sometimes. For this particular column, I'm going to make it 10%. And I'm going to do the same thing with this column. I'm going to make it 10%. And now I'm just going to start playing with all of these other columns. I'm going to make, so we've got, this is just pure math. We've got 5 columns and we want to evenly distribute the 3 of them and 2 of them, if that makes any sense. I'm actually going to do the math. Hold on. Since we're in the mood for experimenting a little bit, let's actually do something really fun. Let's use AI for some help here. Using Dia browser, and I'm going to tell Dia, hey Dia, I have a 5 column layout, and I want columns 1, 3, and 5 to be exactly the same width. Columns 2 and 4, there are dividers inside them, should be the same width, but they should be way thinner. Let's just see what Dia does. Set columns 1, 3, and 5 to 30% width. Okay. So let's do column 30%. Oops. This column has to be 5%. This column should be 5%. This column should be 30%. This other column should be 30%. And this column is 35. Not 35, but 30. There you go. Hey. Oh my God, guys, we did it. Isn't that cool? That is actually pretty cool. Nice. Well, anyways, you saw DL Browser in action. If you want to give it a try, you can kind of see how it can help you with your Thrive Architect builds. Anyways, let's keep going. I'm kind of really happy with the way this is turning out. I'm going to perhaps change the text here just for the sake of not being super time efficient. Okay, awesome. Next section. This is going to be a little bit of it should be easy. Let's see. Let's actually duplicate this. Trying to think if there's an easy way for us to just, and let's just go ahead and create it from scratch. Actually, wait, no, we should be able to duplicate this background section, bring it down, and tell Thrive Architect, hey, I want you to reverse the column orders here. We're going to change this image, and we're going to use this one. I don't need caption text. And let's get rid of all of these margins and paddings for this section. Columns, don't need all of this. And content box, don't need this. Nice. And here we can just change the text actually. This can just be that. Delete this one. And this is the guide. Well, that was kind of fast. I think we need some padding here. Let's do 100 pixels of top and bottom. Actually, you can't do bottom padding because we can't create separation between the image and the actual edge of the container. But what we can do is simply assign some bottom margin to the last text element of the left-hand column. And that gets us, oops. Do I have something in here? See what happened there. Okay, it should be good enough. Maybe let's do 80 already starts to push. Oh, I know what's going on. I need to center things inside this column to be not vertically aligned to the middle, but to the bottom. There you go. And now we can add as much margin as we want. Nice. Nice. Let's hit save. And not bad. I mean, not bad at all. Let's continue to go. This is interesting. So we're going to have a new section. And just for the sake of not having to duplicate and grab colors and stuff, let me just clone that section. And we're going to get rid of these columns. We'll keep the content box. And we're going to do interested. Let's actually make this bigger. Let's do 52. Grab this text element. And we can probably duplicate this one. See how I try to save time just by duplicating elements. That way I don't have to be constantly messing with them. And with Figma, I can just quickly see how wide things need to be. So this is 736 pixels wide. So I can just come here and do 736 pixels wide, center things. I'm going to bring the line spacing down. Maybe like 8 pixels is fine. And I need a button. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this one. And oh, we probably have these 100 pixels of bottom margin that we don't need. And let's actually go ahead and center the button. Now, these ellipses that cross over each other, I've grouped them and exported them as an SVG file, and hopefully we can just assign them as an image to the background style itself. Let's see if that actually works. So I think it's not this one. I think it's, yeah, it should be that one. Yeah, that seems to work. Nice. And we're off to the last section, guys. This one's a little tricky. So here we're using the same background color, if I'm not mistaken. So we're gonna probably, actually, let me just go ahead and duplicate that section. And here I'm not gonna need the ellipse. I am going to need, this is interesting. We're gonna need a content box with some rounded borders and then a 2-column layout here. All right, let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to need a content box. We already have this content box, actually. Let's just make it orange. Nice. And let's give it some rounded borders. I think it's 20. Is it 20? Corner radius 33. Let's actually do 33 just to be consistent. And this is going to be interesting. I actually don't know how I want to do this, guys. For this, I don't know if it's best to just add the image as a background image. Let's try doing that. And instead of covering it to cover the entire content box, let's just do contain and position it to the left-hand side of the screen. How does that look? That's not bad. And now what we can do is, oh, hold on. But that creates a problem. We're going to need to put things, these text elements are going to have to be, and the button and this other text element, they're going to have to be in their own unique content boxes. Why? Well, because we want to be able to contain the width of these elements, right? We want things to be left aligned. And that means that let's just grab this entire text. And let's grab this other one. Perfect. Want to make this a 32. Let's make it black. And let's left align this. Let's make it black. Oops, what happened here? There you go. Okay. That's good. Let's make this white. Background color should be white. And let's make the typography orange. Let's align this to the left. And this text element, we want to get rid of the max width here because we're going to assign max widths to the content box that we put these elements inside of. So for this content box, what we're going to do is we're going to tell Thrive Architect, hey, the width of this content box should not be more than 50% of its parent container. Boom. And voila, it did it. Guys, I can't believe we're done already. Genuinely thought it was going to take longer. Let me actually preview this page really quick. I want to see what this looks like. All right, option track. Cache-based options tracking. This feels like a little too empty, doesn't it? Like there's too much empty space here, which makes me wonder if I want to bring down this or if I should simply have more text. But this, I don't know why, when I look at Figma, I don't actually get that feeling. Yeah, it's vertically aligned to the center, which this isn't happening. It's aligned to the middle, to the top. So we need to bring this down. This looks good. This is actually, I'm actually impressed with the way this turned out. This looks kind of funny for the very same exact reason. There's a little bit of too much empty space here. Not a huge fan of that. This looks cool. And this looks cool. So let's go ahead and take care of those small little details. First things first, content box, column, main options. There you go, center things. And here, I think it could be just a question of not having so much top padding, maybe? What if we bring this down? Yeah, I'm still gonna have the problem of having this image. I think it's just, I know what's going on. I should probably, do you see how this is probably not a web design lesson, more of like a Photoshop lesson, if you will. But you see how there's a lot of empty space inside the image itself? This is causing and creating the effect that there's too much empty space on the page itself, when in reality there isn't. There's only about 50 pixels right now of empty space. But since there's all of this other extra breathing room inside the image itself, it creates the illusion that, hey, we have a bunch of empty space here, when in reality we don't. So the solution here, guys, would be for me to jump into Photoshop and actually get rid of all this empty space, like crop the image itself. But yeah, kind of really happy with the way this turned out for the half hour that we spent building it. Let me know if you bumped into any walls, but overall, I'm kind of really happy. Well, that was pretty good, wasn't it? Hopefully you found this video useful. There are probably some areas of it that you'll want to rewatch a couple of times to really get a good understanding of the hierarchy of design and why and how I do the things I do. But yeah, if you bumped into any walls or blockers, let me know down in the comment section below. There are useful links in the description box for you to learn more about Thrive Suite and everything that you can do with it. Yeah, I truly appreciate your time. I'll catch you soon. Thanks again. Bye.